Welcome to Breaking Dawn Part 3, in which we're going to be talking about Bella the Vampire. There are two previous parts to this Breaking Dawn discussion, one with human Bella and one with Jacob's point of view. So you can go check those out, or you can just jump in here and watch this one. We also have other Honestly Twilight videos on the other books, and we're eventually going to do one on Midnight Sun. So stay tuned. Welcome to Honestly Twilight. This is Josephine.
And this is Grime.
We can segue into part 3 with the imprinting.
Okay,
Let's talk about imprinting.
So the very last part of Jacob's part is that he's actually imprinting. Bella is giving birth, and throughout that last part, there's a lot of focus on Jacob not looking at Renesmee. He's like, yeah, there's the baby, and he's not looking at her consciously. He's not looking at her, and we're getting that told maybe 5 or 8 times. Like, it's a lot, because we need to know that he didn't look at her at all before he imprinted on her. And I thought that was just so annoying.
It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
The strange thing about it, I mean, let's say imprinting doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Then I believe it, because he doesn't care about the baby. He cares about
Bella.
Bella.
Yeah, but then he said it one time. It would have been in his thoughts, because this is from his point of view. It would have been in his thoughts one time.
Yeah, and that would
I will not look at this baby.
Yeah, but the thing is, when we're buying the imprinting thing, if we're buying that the whole attraction between Jacob and Bella is because of the imprinting and that Renesmee is it's destined for Jacob, then it doesn't make sense that because he feels that attraction moving down, like he thinks that that Renesmee is pulling him out of the room because he wants to kill her
after he thinks Bella's dead.
Yeah, but that whole pull, shouldn't that at least make his head turn? It's so strong that it has kept him by Bella's side, breaking his heart again and again. How is it not strong enough to just make him turn his head? It's just, if we're buying that the magic is somehow working before they've even seen each other.
Mm-hmm. True. And then he's imprinting on this baby. And we were already told this can happen, I think, in New Moon.
In Eclipse.
And
it's explained that it's not sexual. It's he becomes like this perfect older brother, and then he will be her best friend when she becomes a little older, and then when she becomes old enough to become sexual. And let's not talk about that gray area where she's starting to have a sexuality, like when she's 13, but not quite ready for anything serious yet. It's not to get into that.
No. Yeah, they also dismissed that she would ever want to date somebody else, because why would she? And yeah, I don't know if they can dismiss that, but okay.
I'm guessing that the imprinting works both ways.
And like, this is maybe the best part of Breaking Dawn. It's when Bella reacts to Jacob imprinting.
I just love how happy Edward is.
Every time Edward is happy, I'm like happy. It's like when I watched I Love Supernatural 2. Even though there's shitty things about Supernatural as well and shitty seasons, every time Dean he cries, I cry. And that's the way I feel about Edward. Every time Edward is happy, like just gleefully happy, I get so happy.
Especially because the guy doesn't get to be happy a lot.
Exactly.
He's just always depressed. So the third part of Breaking Dawn, Bella becomes a vampire. Something I really love in this part is just how happy Edward is that she's finally a vampire. And it changed my whole perspective on Edward, because Edward is controlling throughout the entire series. But as I spoke about in the first episode, how much of that control is him loving Bella so much that he's so afraid of losing her because he has gone so many years without her, right? And I talked about how it would change my perspective in Midnight Sun, would change my perspective somewhat if Edward admits in Midnight Sun that he wants her to become a vampire. Yeah. And he does kind of, in one of the other books, that it's the most selfish thing for him to want her to become a vampire, but that's why he's fighting it, because he doesn't want to be selfish. So it's so great in Breaking Dawn, like she finally becomes a vampire and he's happy about it, and he's just so happy that she can just go do whatever now. He doesn't need to be overprotective, so their relationship is so liberated by the fact that she becomes a vampire.
I had a small problem with him saying, he tells her don't hug him so fierce because she's stronger than him. And then he has to explain her, for the moment, you're stronger than me. And I was like, bitch, please. Why do you have to say that? It's like her first 10 minutes of being an immortal, and then you're like, yeah, no, but I'm a man, so I was stronger than you when you're like
technically the whole thing about I don't really get how physical strength works with the vampires. I don't get why they couldn't just be equally strong. There's no reason they couldn't just be equally strong.
Apparently they have muscles.
It makes sense that Emmett, for instance, would be stronger than the others because that's the thing he brought with him into immortality. He is strong. That's like his characteristic. Should we finish the imprinting thing?
Bella finds out by herself why Jacob is still there, and he doesn't want to explain it, and he says he will. And I puzzle over it, watching him stare at my daughter, staring at her like he was a blind man seeing the sun for the very first time. No, I gasped. And I just love it so much. And then she says, Rose, take Renesmee. Because she knows she's holding Renesmee for the first time. And she knows she's going to whip that son of a dog. Son of a bitch. Oh my god, yes! I should have said it. She's going to whip that son of a bitch so fucking hard. Because he has imprinted on her daughter. And so
I love that part in the movies. Kristen Stewart played that. You named my daughter after the Loch Ness monster. The whole way Kristen Stewart that, yeah.
See, I actually love Breaking Dawn Part 2, the movie, better than I do the book. The 5th movie was just...
It's really fun.
It was really good. And
but
Kristen Stewart is just...
What did that mean?
I mean, she's more fuckable than Edward. Like, he's so, like, oh my god. Yeah.
Well, we'll see what you think about that after he plays Batman, because you love Batman.
I love Batman so much. Batman is my one true love.
I'm Edward.
You've been dying for that.
Yes.
But Robert Pattinson is going to play Edward in Batman in 2021, and I look forward to it a lot. I think he's a good actor. Kristen Stewart is better, I'm sorry, but he's a good actor.
I haven't seen her in Charlie's Angels yet. I want to see her.
I haven't seen Charlie's Angels yet either. Stupid baby.
Nothing ran during
We're
Corona.
back to the imprint. And so
yeah.
She's and she's very possessive. She's saying to him, I've held her all for one time, and already you think you have some ironic wolfy claim to her? She's mine. And how dare you imprint on my baby? Have you lost your mind? And he keeps saying, hey, it wasn't my fault, and I didn't do this on purpose, it was involuntarily.
Yeah, but you could act differently about it.
And she's like, you think you'll be part of my family as my son-in-law? And he's twisting her words because she's asked for him to be in her life forever. She hoped for that. And he's saying, now I am. I'm going to be your family. And then at the end of this, and I wrote, yes, queen. She says, when she found out, come on, Bells. Nessie likes me too, he insisted. I froze. My breathing stopped. Behind me, I heard the lack of sound that was their anxious reaction. What did you call her? Jacob took a step farther back, managing to look sheepish. Well, he mumbled, that name you came up with is kind of a mouthful, and you nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness monster! I screeched, and then I lunged for his throat. Yes, you did!
Yes, queen!
You just get some wolf in your
I hate that she's sorry about it afterwards. He totally deserved
No,
it.
I think she's sorry about Seth.
Oh yeah, that's
She's
right.
not particularly sorry
Yeah,
about
okay.
Jacob.
That's okay. I'm taking that back.
Yeah.
Sorry, because she's actually kind of great about Jacob in this second part of her feelings, her reactions to Jacob are a lot healthier and realistic.
And so
She's
great.
pissed with him.
She's so pissed.
Yeah, and
We're
it's
pissed too.
And I'm pissed on her behalf as well. She gave birth to the child and then hasn't seen it for 3 days. She's just been lying there. And the worst part is, they're all being little bitches about it. Like, she's the mother. Of course she's gonna want to see it. Why haven't you even spoken to her while she's lying there? Like tell it.
But we find out that Edward has been singing to Renesmee in the room.
Yeah, that's right.
She was lying and fighting.
But they could have told her. Or maybe they did and she couldn't remember because that was the worst part of... but they should have repeated it. They've all been through it, right? And they should figure out that this is something she'd want to know. Rosalie should know this. Like, that's another part. Like, Rosalie could have just gone up to her for like 5 minutes and said, the baby's all right, Bella, we did it. You're going to be fine, you know? The camaraderie that would have come from what they've been through.
They all expected her to be blood crazed. So I don't know. Like, this is new territory for them because she's not reacting as a newborn.
Yeah. So let's talk about the chapter where she wakes up, like after the pain.
The favorite chapter.
Yeah.
Okay.
The moment she opens her eyes and she's a vampire, it's just, I love it. I loved it the first time I read it. I've loved it every other time I've read it. And I think it's because the second part of Breaking Dawn does something that I just love. Period. Like, you can do this badly and I will like it. I love when you take humans or some kind of creature and you put them into this new context, this new world. There's something new and they have to discover it. I love it in Interview with the Vampire, and I love it in the story The Hollow Kingdom. I love it whenever I encounter it, and I love it here. I love Bella discovering being a vampire and just the whole description of being a vampire. It's enough to keep me engaged. I don't need larger plots than that.
Jumping, her joy, how she's experiencing everything, the colors, the smells, when she sees Edward. And I fell in love with Edward there too. I mean, guy's handsome. He doesn't have any personality, but he's handsome.
He's just described as perfect.
He's just that angel face. Yeah. I don't know what an angel
I really like
like
her reaction to her own new look. Her first reaction when looking in a mirror and seeing that she's godly beautiful now is not, I'm beautiful. It's like, who is that? What happened? Like, she's feeling disconnected from it.
She still has all the self-hate and the self-doubt, actually. The self-hate is minimizing, but she has a lot of self-doubt. She doesn't believe she is important. She doesn't believe she's special. And she knows she's not as beautiful as Rosalie. And it's just snide comments, but they're still there. Because, I didn't like it in Twilight, and I didn't like it here. I hate how much Bella thinks she's unimportant. It changes slowly from her being a vampire.
I think throughout being a vampire heals her in so many ways.
Slowly.
Yeah.
It will. So that's good. I'm very happy.
Bella becoming a vampire is like the best thing.
Just read those chapters. I think it's Burning.
Just it's the entire part 3.
Yeah. Okay, you like the entire part 3. Okay.
I like entire part 3.
So New, First Hunt, and Promised. They're quite good.
Yeah.
Chapters.
Yeah.
For me, this book,
New Moon.
Erase Eclipse, and then just erase every part until she's bitten. Yeah. Something like that.
A big problem in Breaking Dawn is that there's no real consequences with the werewolves. The whole thing with let's say we had skipped Eclipse. Let's say Eclipse did not exist, then the whole controlling thing that we talked about in Eclipse would have to be resolved in the beginning of Breaking Dawn. And instead of Victoria dying here, we moved her to be a midway climax in Breaking Dawn. So while Bella is incapacitated by being pregnant and everyone's protecting her, they have to fight Victoria, and Edward has to fight Victoria while he is the Burning Man, as he is described as in Breaking Dawn. And then you would have that climax there, and then the Volturi in the next part. I think that would have made the whole thing more balanced
and less boring, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know, but And I want to comment on, in these chapters we learn a new nickname, and I'm very furious about that because Jasper had a whole chapter in Eclipse explaining himself, and then suddenly this happens. Jas, M, let us through. Bella's got this. And who that? Who's Jas? Who's M? They've never been called that throughout the 2.
Who called them that?
Edward.
Huh. Are you sure?
I would like to do a word search if I could, but I've never heard Jasper described as Jas with 2 C's, how do you say that in English?
Yeah, you're right. It's not something that
Sets.
happens a lot. If it happens, it's not something they in general call each other.
And then it happens throughout the book. Alice calls him Jazz. Everybody calls him Jazz.
Okay, that's weird.
I'm like, where? How? Why didn't they call him Jazz in Twilight?
It's because
when they tried to eat her.
It's because during the 3 days that Bella was out, they decided to give everybody nicknames, not just for May. Everybody has nicknames then. You get a nickname, you get a nickname, you get a nickname.
So sloppy. And every time Jazz is mentioned, I'm like, oh, great, there's a new member of the family. And I actually had to think really hard about who M was. I was like, M? Is that Esme?
Emily?
Yeah. And it was Emmett, of course. Because it was new. Don't go around and do that. It's like Bella in Twilight. Bella, Isabella. Apparently, Charlie always called her Isabella, but then when she moves in with him, he only calls her Bells. What the fuck? The whole town knows her as Isabella.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sloppy. Okay, I'm over it. Go down.
I love how you can become so furious about something so minor. Like, this is not what makes or breaks the book.
Because there's so many small things, it builds up and it becomes a lot of noise.
And I think especially it's especially because the same kinds of thoughtlessness is apparent in the larger plot. So it's a general thing. This is just an example.
We talk about how if this is plotless, and we liked how it was plotless actually, but it's not a model that works for all the other books, and it certainly doesn't work for Breaking Dawn. At least not for me. An example of how Bella devalues herself is she's looking at Renesmee. My little nodger, the one who loved me from the inside too, half Edward, perfect and lovely, and half me, which surprisingly made her better rather than detracting.
I think that's interesting because I once read a woman who talked about how having a child and learning to love the parts that was her in her child helped her heal her relationship with herself.
I think that actually applies for me too. Seeing how beautiful my baby's eyes is makes me realize that I have really beautiful eyes like that, and he looks just like me when he smiles. I'm like, oh my god, I have the most beautiful smile in the world. I'm so sorry.
And later when he's gonna do the same awkward things you did when you were little, you're gonna be like, I was okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think so, maybe.
Like there are baby footage or just footage of me as younger when I was playing games with people, and I can't watch them now because I'm just like, oh my god, I was such a terrible little kid. I just beat the crap out of myself. But that's probably gonna get better if I have kids of my own, because then they're gonna be little bastards. In a way, I really like that Bella is a good vampire. Because it proves Edward wrong. She should always just have become a vampire. It was what she was meant to be all along. But at the same time, it plays into that whole thing you were talking about before with playing house, how it's very easy and they move over the difficult things like the long pregnancy. Okay, they had a difficult pregnancy, but like the long pregnancy, the terrible parts are having a young child. And like Renesmee is incredibly easy. And the being a newborn. Like all of those horrible things.
And Esme sleeps through the night, so her parents that can now fuck on full on fucking mode, they can do that throughout the whole night because Renesmee sleeps 11 hours every night.
Yeah.
What the fuck? They have no problems.
No.
They never have any problems. All problems they have, they're so stupid because it's not real problems.
Except for when people are trying to kill them.
It's not even a real problem. I mean, they always win anyway.
Well, they don't know that. I just feel it would have been interesting to have had blood-crazed Bella, because there are a few times throughout the story where Bella is like, for instance, in Eclipse, when Jasper is thinking about, we would all be stronger if we drank human blood. And she, for a moment, is thinking about whether she'd be willing to sacrifice innocence for Edward's safety. And so I got to thinking about how the whole thing with vampires losing their mates and going crazy with vengeance. it would be so interesting for Edward to die and see how Bella would react to that.
So there is death in the book. Irina, she's the only one dying throughout the fight. And it's a non-death. It doesn't mean anything for us. We've never met Irina. We knew she was born Smate. And then apparently Irina comes in the book to say she's sorry, and then she sees Renesmee, and she thinks Renesmee is a mortal child. And
Immortal.
Yeah,
immortal child.
Immortal. I don't think I pronounced that.
Immortal.
Immortal. The immortal child. And she thinks that, so she goes to Volturi. She feels bad, and then she tells Volturi that she was wrong, and then they kill her. And I didn't feel any pain at all. Did you?
No, I only feel pain for Kate, and not even really Tanya. Her two sisters are frustrated. It's very sad that she died, and Kate runs, and then Garrett grabs her. Like, I really like Garrett and Kate.
They're good. She's really good at making minor characters mean something while they're there. But she's not very, very good at fleshing them out.
But the strange thing is that she somehow still manages to have Rosalie and Emmett and Carlisle and Esme be like couples that mean zero to me. Especially Carlisle and Esme.
Yeah, but you
Carlisle has more chemistry with the two women, his friends that come visiting, like the Siuban and then the...
Maggie?
No, there's some other woman. Tanya, I think. He has better rapport with Tanya than with Esme. Yeah, they talk throughout the book, and with Siuban, and I think there's some other woman as well. And I was just like, oh, Esme is just the most terrible character. We're just told she's very motherly. That's all she is. She's so boring.
And she's also a good house designer.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't get how she can create the Egyptian boy Benjamin, who can do like water, fire, earth, air, and he's really cool. We spend so little time with him. And she can do Garrett and Kate, and they're really cool. And then Emmett and Rosalie are like, whatever. I don't get why they're mates. I get Edward and Bella much better than I get Rosalie and Emmett. And I don't get Carlisle and Esme either. I think
they choose to be mates. It's not the same level of imprinting. So I think Carlisle chose to be with Esme when he saved her, while Edward, on the other hand, did not choose Rosalie when she was changed, and that hurt Rosalie. Because she could have been together with Edward. She could have. But he didn't choose her, so she couldn't.
And she chose Emmett.
And then she chose Emmett, and Emmett was like, yeah, fine, I will fuck you.
Because you're really hot.
Yeah, exactly. Shit, hot diggity damn. And blonde.
You know what? We're talking about it. Because this is what I wanted to get into with authorial control. So many times throughout this story, Stephenie Meyer just tells us that a couple is right for each other. And we're just supposed to believe it. And because she has made it clear in her world that mates just belong together, they react really strongly to each other. If they lose each other, they go vengeance crazy. We don't need any proof. She doesn't really build up the relationships. She's just like, well, they're together. I don't need to give you any more than that.
No, and we're actually told in the clips that James didn't care for Victoria. I don't know if that was a ploy from Edward's side.
Very interesting if it was.
But if it is true, then what is the consistency in mates?
Yeah, what's the difference?
Yeah.
And I really don't like... I don't remember if it's in Eclipse or Breaking Dawn where Edward is like, imprinting is almost as strong as the feelings I have for you. I'm like, what's so great about you two? Like, it's fine, you're together, whatever, but I just don't buy the whole, you're the most fantastic, loving lovers ever. And your love is so much greater than everybody else's and so much purer. Like, it's just, I don't see it. And I don't, it's not proven to me. It's just told to me through the author's intent. And the same thing with Renesmee and Jacob. Why Renesmee? Why?
And why should she love him back? Jacob says that she likes him too. Not in that way, she's a child. And she does seem to care for him, but their relationship isn't really shown. Like,
it can't be shown because she's not old enough yet. But
but even their friendship relationship, or like he's an authority figure in some way in her life, they hunt together and he makes games for her.
And this is where we get into grooming. And
oh yeah, oh totally. That's what's happening. Sure.
Yeah.
He's making her his perfect mate.
And
apparently, because Billy's theory, Jacob's dad's theory about why the wolves are imprinting is to make bigger and better wolves. So they're choosing to imprint on women who can bear better wolf children, stronger spirit walkers or shapeshifters, and
which means Renesmee must be able to have children.
Exactly, and that's an interesting thought.
So
it's really interesting.
Bella and Edward do get it all. They can get grandchildren as well. I wonder if they're going to be immortal as well. They can't all just be immortal. God damn it.
And she takes away all, like Stephenie Meyer, she takes away all the ethical aspects as well. Like there's
consequences.
They are all pondering, that's why they're vegetarians. They're all pondering about how it's wrong to kill human beings. But they're not pondering about too much because they push it underneath the carpet. How about Renesmee aging? And she's aging so rapidly and they don't want to think about it. So they don't even discuss it.
Well, I think they discuss it between the lines because they do decide to go to South America to figure out some legends.
That's not okay. We are the readers. We don't.
Yeah, okay.
We don't hear that discussion. As from a perspective, that would have been so easy to put a conversation between Bella and Edward. But every time Bella thinks of something and she looks at Edward, she's like, "Oh my God, he's so fuckable," and then she forgets and they fuck every time they're alone. I think sometimes she's not taking what she's put out there seriously. And she used too many words on this story. There's so little of this book that's interesting. 300 pages in, and Bella hasn't even gave birth yet. The book is 700 pages.
More happened in Twilight. Definitely.
But Twilight is a good book. This is not.
I feel like Stephenie Meyer is somewhat aware of some of the problematic aspects of Edward and Bella's relationship, because in Eclipse, when Bella and Edward are visiting her mother, Renee is like, you have kind of a weird relationship. Like, it's almost like you're addicted to each other. And there are several people, Jacob especially, but also Charlie and others, who comment that Edward is a bit overprotective, and Bella is kind of like shrugging it off. So I would actually say that other characters in the story are not telling her that, okay, the Cullens are always saying that what Edward does is okay, but the other characters are like, this is kind of shady, and then Bella is just like, no, it's fine. And of course it all turns out fine. So it's interesting to me that I once heard in an interview, Stephenie Meyer said that Jacob is the perfect human boyfriend. He's a guy you could meet out there for real. He's a nice guy. You should be with him.
He has problems, but he's essentially nice.
Edward is the perfect guy that doesn't exist. But of course, Bella's going to pick him because he's the perfect guy. And I just find that so interesting that she thinks Edward is perfect when he is so controlling and demeaning at times. And it just really made me think about how I personally feel that Bella and Jacob have better conversations, have a better connection than Edward and Jacob. But the reason that Edward and Bella but the reason they don't end up together, and the reason you can't really consider them getting together, is because Stephenie Meyer does not allow Bella to have the accompanying physical attraction. So she controls what you perceive to be the correct couple through manipulating their emotions by making her react physically to Edward and have her not react physically to Jacob. If you had inserted the right physical reactions to Jacob throughout New Moon and Eclipse, then when at the end Jacob's like, you're in love with me too, and she kisses him and she realizes she's in love with him, I would have believed it because it would make sense. But Stephenie Meyer has removed that clinically from the books, which forces me to not look at them as romantic and forces me to look at Edward as romantic because she has such a strong physical attraction to it, which is really manipulating.
But we feel that way, both of us, that there's no attraction towards Jacob from Bella.
Her heart doesn't start to race, and she doesn't blush, and
no, not because of that at least. But there's a whole team Jacob feeling differently. Not only because they think he's hot, which Taylor Lautner, I couldn't think of him as hot because he was playing Jacob, and I didn't think Jacob was hot. But rereading the books, Jacob is so big. He's like 7 feet tall, and he's huge. He's Emmett huge too. He's so big. And he's Jason Momoa, but like blown up. Oh my god. I kind of physically liked Jacob in this. I really forced myself to picture him away from Taylor Lautner and really being like, oh my god, dude, hot. So the physical attraction possibility is there, and Bella observes his body as well. She even gets embarrassed, I think, one time when he's holding her too close. She's like, this is uncomfortable because she doesn't feel it, and his body is intimidating too close to her, right? She entering her sphere, private sphere, and but I actually really thought that Jacob was hot. He was different hot than Edward. He was big, warm, and tall. Like you meet.
I definitely feel like when I read the story through Bella's mind, I prefer Jacob. Yes. But I just don't see Bella's attraction to him. Bella does not have the attraction to him. Which is why you, as the reader, can be like, I really like Jacob, but the story does not like Jacob.
True.
The narrative is not on Jacob's side. And that's a bit manipulative.
But an author has to be manipulative.
Yes. Everything about writing is manipulative. Everything is manipulative. But I just feel like sometimes Stephenie Meyer goes overboard to control your way of seeing things. Like, for instance, the thing you read earlier with Bella being like, oh, well, maybe I just never imagined that I was going to be liking being married and having children. Where it just feels like...
Because if it would have been a normal length pregnancy, she would have gone through all these thoughts while, am I ready to be a mother? Do I want to? But because it's proceeding so fast, Bella has to be ready at the get-go. She realizes she's pregnant and then she fights for that child from the get-go. A lot of people struggles when they find out they're going to be mothers in 9 months, and even a
if
lot
it's
of
planned.
mothers give birth and then they can't say to that child, I love you right away. And that's okay, because I don't go around saying to people I just met, I love you. You have to build a relationship. That's okay too. A lot of stuff about being moms is like, it's almost glittered, but it's full of sparkles, and love and hearts and everything.
You mean the way that we present it?
Yes, and it's also here. Bella loves being a mother.
It's just fantastic
from the get-go. Like, even though the pregnancy is killing her, she loves the kid because it kicked her, and she loves the kid for being so strong, and she loves the kid for being hers and Edward's, mostly Edward's, and she just loves it. And I feel that's what you're also saying is authorial. Okay, let's say it.
Authorial control.
Authorial control. That's also the author's control of it. That of course Bella loves being pregnant.
I think the thing I'm getting at is that as an author you have the option of controlling very much the way the reader perceives the story. So Edward is, for instance, by a lot of people not perceived as very controlling in Twilight, because the whole story does not present him as such. You kind of have to gain that perspective through your experiences. Because you could have written it so that a younger audience would get that he was controlling. But I think that Stephenie Meyer does that too much. As an author, you also have the option of leaving things on the table for the reader to decide what they think about it. Like, you can write a character and be like, it's out there, think what you will of it, you know? And you're free to look at it from different angles. But here, it's like you're shoved into this corner, and you're only allowed to see the story through this lens of Edward is fantastic, and Bella has to be with him, and motherhood is fantastic, and blah, 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 blah. But there are so many other perspectives you could have taken on this story, and it barely even allows you to explore them in your mind as a reader. It's just, there's this one take. Bella's. I think that's what I wanted to say about authorial control, which is that you can really manipulate the story as an author. And she, by choosing which way she is presenting the story, she is making you accept certain things, like certain couples where I'm like, I don't think they actually fit together. I don't think they should be together. I don't think Rosalie and Emmett should be together. They don't fit together. We're into part 3. Let's talk about Renesmee. Everybody loves her. She's boring.
She's there. She's cute. That's how I would describe my baby in the world. Everybody loves him. He's so cute. Every time I have so cute pictures of him. So cute baby.
I've never met him.
He's so cute. Even though he doesn't let me sleep alone and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I think that's just how you present a baby that you love. So it would have been interesting to have the problems. Because this is trying to be a slice of life book. It's just not working that way.
Yeah.
Charlie? If you have another perspective on Renesmee, please share it with us.
Yeah. Do you love her, hate her, why?
Don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, it really feels like they have the baby and then it's whatever. Like, they just fuck.
Oh yeah, they love her. They do. I do feel they love her, but they're not doing all the baby stuff. They're not learning her to walk. They're not learning her to talk. They're not playing with her that much. At least, like, Bella loves that she's sleeping on her, that she's needing her, that she's wanting her. But yeah,
and I feel Edward is a very disconnected father.
Yeah, but they don't feel that. So again, with the authorial
control,
then we are told that Edward is such a good dad. Even at the end, Bella is like, "You're the dream dad."
Yeah, but he does nothing. Is there a single scene where he's actually with Renesmee? It's always Jacob who's with Renesmee. I feel like Bella and Jacob are the ones who are raising Renesmee, which is really problematic. Back to grooming. I feel like we should almost take a segment on grooming.
I don't want to read too much about it, honestly. Like, I know it happens, but I want to live in a world where you don't groom people to be a fuck buddy.
I feel like grooming is an interesting concept, but we're back to me really liking to read about problematic stuff. If you're,
I do like it in books. I don't.
It just depends on how it's presented.
So this grooming is okay because it's just imprinting.
I think it's not really okay because it's not discussed. So, for instance, in Jane Austen's book Emma, Mr. Knightley, the one she ends up with, is basically almost like an older brother. He's 10-15 years older than her. So he's basically been grooming her entire life. He's the one who's discussing things with her and stuff. So a lot of people don't like that about Emma, that Mr. Knightley has basically been grooming Emma to be his perfect bride. But I don't feel that that's what's happening in that story. What's happening is just that he is a close family friend who ended up spending a lot of time with her and teaching her all of these things. And then throughout the story, she makes a lot of mistakes, and he helps her see why those were mistakes, and she changes and ends up realizing that she loves him. And some people would say that, oh, well, but he constantly puts her on the right track be the way that he wants her to be. No, he's just guiding her. So that's an interesting grooming story where like I like it. But
maybe also because his outcome, like from the get-go, he wasn't thinking, oh,
I'm gonna get with her.
Yeah, exactly. She's so pretty. She could become my wife.
Yeah.
That's not what he's thinking when he meets her at 10 years old.
Yeah. And so I kind of feel like they should have a conversation here where it's like Renesmee should, like, Jacob ought to actually stay away for like 15 years.
They try to put it out there that maybe, like Edward says in the end, she's going to be beautiful and she will be hard to keep the boys away from. And then they're like, oh, but Jacob's going to be there. Yeah, okay, not a problem. But Edward sort of wanted to be a problem.
Yeah.
that's the only thing that's put out there.
And he's actually right. Because she should get the opportunity to be with other guys than Jacob.
If she wants to.
But it's not even a choice when you grow up with someone and everybody just expects you to be with him. Like, it's going to be an unsaid thing throughout the whole entirety of Renesmee's childhood that, well, he imprinted on her.
And he's going to be there because it pains him to be away from her.
Yeah.
So it's not okay to keep him away. Of course it is.
Yeah. It would be better for both of them if she's allowed to grow up. And it's only 7 years, actually, we end up finding out. That in 7 years she'll be mature.
And it's not like... We're not in the medieval world. We are in the zeros. It's not like arranged marriages, this will be good for the vampire and werewolf clan to have an alliance and this could make it possible. It's not like that.
Oh, that would be so cool.
It would have been cool if they put that in. It would have been a little mean too, right?
Yeah.
But they don't put that in.
I mean, that's the interesting thing about arranged marriage plot lines is the inherent conflict in them,
yeah, and that's
right?
why it often doesn't work in YA because especially American authors, they don't think about when they make strong female leads that doesn't want to marry some guy their family has chosen for them. And then the girl flees or she says no. They don't put in the ramification it has for the country or the countries. Because maybe that arranged marriage, was the only thing holding those two from
something that's annoying me about what you're saying there is that how is it not a strong female character to be like, okay, this is what has to be done for the country,
exactly.
So I'm going to have to marry him.
It's so interesting. If you know about books where she does this, where the girl or woman tough it up and be like, fuck this, I'm not loving him, but I have to marry him, and then proceeds from there, and not turning it into Beauty and the Beast where she actually loves him. Because that's the problem. They mostly turn it into a hate-love relationship where the hatred becomes love. And I would like to be like, she's a brilliant strategist, so of course she's been raised to do this for her life. Renesmee is being that. She is being raised her whole life
to be Jacob's bride.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not okay.
Even though it just starts with friendship.
Yeah, she should be allowed to be her own person. And Jacob should want that for her.
But we're not the first one to discuss this.
No.
And not like we're not inventing the deep.
Yeah.
The bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's the
bowl.
Thing to say.
Inventing the bowl.
You're not inventing the bowl. It's such, like you said, it was a minor thing, Jasper being called Jas for the first time in this book. I think it's presented as a minor thing. Of course, he's imprinting on her by the gates. It moves on.
Yeah.
I just want to make a tiny comment. So we talked about Jasper and Eclipse, and I want to make a new comment on Jasper. When Bella becomes a vampire, she notices how Jasper's skin is. And Jasper's skin is...
yeah, that's so good.
It's
he is covered in bite marks.
He's covered in bite marks. And they're
everywhere.
And they're profound to her vampire eyes. She just thought he had smooth skin before. Actually, he shows them to her, but she doesn't notice him that much.
Yeah, in Eclipse, when she was a human.
When now as a vampire, she noticed them a lot, and it makes him scary. He looks like someone that lived through hell. I feel like if we should compare, it's like when we see people come out of prisons and
tattoos all over the face or something.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's the same. I know tattoos is getting more and more accepted, so it's not the best comparison. But there is something about a mean mug and then having tattoos all over.
Yeah.
And that's how Jasper is. He's so fucking scary. And that puts into a new perspective for me how Jasper reacted on seeing Alice in that bar or diner.
Yeah.
In that diner. Because she walks up to him with absolutely no fear, smiling and expecting him in a caring way. And it made their love it felt just apropos couples that doesn't belong together. They actually kind of fit so nicely together that she wasn't scared of him.
Yeah. I feel like Jasper and Alice are the one couple where Stephenie Meyer's like, they were meant for each other, and I'm like, yeah, they were.
Yeah.
I really love them. And I love I love Jasper in Breaking Dawn. I love his reaction to Bella being very good at being a vampire. The whole way he has to think about the way he's thought about being a vampire up until now. Like, why am I struggling so hard with not killing people when Bella is a newborn and isn't struggling with it? She should be blood crazed. She should be killing everyone. I just love that. And I love the philosophical ramifications that he's suffering from. And I love that.
Because he's the only one having it. Yeah. So I think that's why we actually are attracted as people to Jasper, because he has thoughts that's just not black and white.
Jasper actually likes the Volturi. Jasper feels, because of what happened in the South with all of the wars with the newborns, that the Volturi are a necessity. And they are. They're not just the bad guys. And and Jasper's backstory is very, very dark as compared to the rest of the Cullens, who have a very easy... Edward is the one closest...
Edward, Rosalind, and Emmett doesn't have...
Edward has a little bit of a dark edge because he went off in those years and killed people. Only criminals, but he killed people.
Still did. Yeah. Rosalie, Esme, Emmett, and Edward were created by Carlisle and has always almost been with him, while Jasper and Alice comes from the outside.
Yeah.
And Alice was done dirty with her backstory.
Yeah.
Being a side note in New Moon.
Yeah.
Are we going on to the climax?
Yeah, I think
we're serious.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're getting to the end of honestly Twilight, or before we get into the whole point, which is reading Midnight Sun, of course. Irina sees Renesmee, assumes it's an immortal child, which is a small child who has become a vampire. That's an immortal child, and they're impossible to control, so they're illegal to create, and the Volturi will kill you if you have created one, or if you're helping to hide one.
And vampires want to protect an immortal child too.
Yeah, they really instinctually want to protect them. The Volturi have been waiting for an opportunity to kill the Cullens, so they're just grabbing this.
Gather Alice.
Yeah.
As well.
Gather Alice, Edward, and Bella, which I love.
Mostly Bella and Alice.
Yeah.
I think Edward is a side note.
But I love that Edward really wants Bella. I think that's so cool. I just like that Bella becomes cool. She's a cool vampire, and I really like her power with the shield. I know you think it's kind of, but I mean, it would have been.
So why do you like it?
I feel like it's a very cool ability. It's an ability that just totally nullifies the enemy. All of the Volturi's powers are nullified by her. And that makes it very cool to me. What I don't like about the climax is that all Bella does throughout it is mentioning how she's moving the shield, and she's tightening the shield, and she's making it stronger. And like the fifth time that was said, I was like, okay, isn't it strong enough yet? Or what, woman? I wish she had said more in the climax. That she had been an actual participant in the conversation with the Volturi.
I didn't like it, Bella's
power.
I think it's fine, but it's just what is he called? Esram.
Esram
Yeah.
Esram is a vampire who's with the Denali clan. Elisar is with the Denali clan, and he was previously with the Volturi but left to be with one of the Denali women.
And Elisar has the gift of almost knowing what a power is. Yeah. Mostly knowing.
Yeah, he can sense other people's powers.
And what they are. And he's very instinctively saying that Bella is a shield. And then suddenly Bella can train her elastic mind. And she's training with the Amazon Sabrina, because Sabrina can do illusions inside your brain. And she's training with Kate, who has the same ability as Jane, sort of, that she can make her body
electric.
Yeah, so if you touch her, you feel pain.
It's not as great as Jane's power, because she can do it from a distance.
Yeah, Jane can. Everything in the build-up for the climax, from when Alice disappears until they walk out to meet the Volturi, is in retrospective. Everything is just... And then we did this for these days. And then we did this. And it's very childish written. It's almost like Stephanie Meyer had a deadline. And then she rushed through it and she was like, and then this happened. And she looks at her outline and she's like, and then this happened, and then this happened. It's so boring to read. I didn't feel any emotion at all because everything is just looked back on.
I think I'm different there because I think I have a higher tolerance for world building and for just reading like that kind of thing.
God, no.
Because for instance in Harry Potter, one of the things I actually really like in Harry Potter are the time passes phases. Now, J.K. Rowling is really good at doing time passes phases, where it's just you're told, oh, we went to classes for a few weeks and blah 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 blah. And I think that's hyggelig, to use a Danish word. That's cozy. And no, it's not the most engaging time, but I think
But this is like 50 pages or something. It feels like that.
Yeah.
It's so long and everything is so pointless when it's in retrospective glance. I mean, and I already knew it was going to be a happy ending because it says so in the fucking contents. Why was I reading that? And I actually had the thought, because they're telling about how everybody's coming and they're transformed to believe in Renesmee, that she's a child growing, not an immortal child, and we being told that, and through that Bella has learned she's a shield and she should train it. And I'm like, then they're like, a week passed, and I'm like, why the fuck didn't Bella train? And then she was like, oh yeah, Bella trained.
Something very interesting happens in that part though. One of my favorite parts of Breaking Dawn is when she goes to see the lawyer. You don't like that?
I just don't get why it was in. And then they have the briefest of all talks in it, in the Happily Ever After chapter. Like, why did you send me there? I thought we were all going to die. And I was just like, shit excuse, man. She's like, maybe I want you to be prepared. What the fuck?
Well, she didn't know it was going to work out. So, she's long gone.
I don't think it was a good ending, and
I think
why I really love.
I'm interested in why this isn't bothering me as much. It feels like I've burned out all of that hatred.
30 years.
Yeah, I can't care that much about it anymore. I can't get that mad about it anymore.
But I've carried this for Breaking Dawn.
Yeah,
for 10 years.
Yeah, you haven't
for 10 years. I'm not even kidding. For 10 years, I have been keeping this hatred for Breaking Dawn.
So I feel that the chapters where she's dealing with the lawyer and getting the papers, the passports. If you don't remember, she's getting passports so that Renesmee and Jacob can leave and run away. I like that part because Bella is being really cool, and I like Bella being cool.
I just think she's doing what she always does. She's sacrificing herself in the well-being of others. So I didn't feel that was very new.
It's just the whole way that she's acting. She's much more self-assured, and she's enjoying the way people are reacting to her now that she's a vampire.
But in the eclipse, when she thought about their third wife that sacrificed herself, she thinks about it so many times that it's obvious she's going to sacrifice something, or she's at least going to try. And I think that was the same way. Like, she's sacrificing her life. Now she can sacrifice her life again for someone she loves.
Yeah.
And she just looks at Edward and being like, I know Edward feels the same way. If I die, he dies. We're going to meet the same fate.
It's very interesting how that's presented as romantic instead of like, Wouldn't you want the person you love to go on?
It's Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, it is. No, but that's not the part I was thinking about. I just really like the whole way the world is reacting to Bella and how she is. It's back to the way that you feel that she's self-deprecating. She's not here. She's growing into her place as a cool, awesome, beautiful vampire, and everybody is like really affected by her being in the room, and she's enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it with her. So it's kind of again like with First Hunt and just her waking up and being a vampire. This is another new vampire experience that we get to experience with her.
And I actually really have loved instead of that she met her human friends.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool.
And I thought about that a lot because they disappear in this book.
And she never thinks about them again. I mean, Angela.
She thinks about Mike once because they have a jibe about Mike. And that's it.
Well, they never meant anything to her, so no surprise there. But I agree that the build-up is not the best part. But I just...
Do you think there is a climax?
Yes, because the climax is a strategic one. And it reminds me kind of like we are so used to in fantasy that the climax is some big battle, it's some fight. But in real life military history, it's a lot of the fighting is the maneuvering of your armies, finding the right place to stand. So that the whole build-up is we need to get the right vampires with the right abilities. We need to get enough to make the Volturi stop, and then we have this battle plan. And yeah, so it's kind of like a chess game, right?
I feel like it should be a chess game. I don't see the chess. I feel it's like Ludo.
The real problem here is that the chess game kind of cool. You have a lot of pieces set up, but then you just have to imagine what would happen if they actually had the fight, but then they don't have the fight because it would be too bad for both sides. But it would have been cooler if for instance, imagine if the Volturi could have known that they were gathering people, and then the Volturi could start gathering people, and then you had more of a strategic fight going on. And then if you eventually ended up with them being like, no, we can't have this fight, it's too much, we would both lose, and then they would end. But then you'd still have had that whole fight to gather all of those people would still have meant something, right?
That was the cool thing about Victoria in Eclipse. She actually did try the defenses. She actually did try different things, and when it tied up together with being Victoria, that was cool enough. I mean, I still don't care for Eclipse, but it was cool enough. And they didn't do that with Breaking Dawn. The Volturi just decides to come with their massive body, and apparently they have a month to gather all these people, the Cullens, and then they just celebrate. And even the celebration is 1 page long.
Yeah, that's also, yeah. Everybody just leaves.
The celebration is, like, there's something about Tanya and Kate wanting to go home because they're mourning Irina's death. They couldn't handle the celebration. What, the kissing? But still, that's the only celebration. I was robbed from an epic fight. And when I saw the movie, I was not robbed. There was an epic fight.
Which turns out to be not.
Yeah, but I don't care. It was so cool seeing everybody like ripped open and dying and.
Okay, so
I think
how should the fight have gone? How do you feel the fight should have gone?
Oh, but I've already told this. I feel like Kali should have died. I think it would have been really cool if Emmett died, because Rosalie, who would she have been then? I think Emmett, though you don't feel as them as a couple, she would really be conflicting with being there for an Esme and not wanting to live anymore. Or just going on a suicide mission to kill somebody from the Volturi.
Yeah.
I feel like Marcus shouldn't have been there at all because he didn't add anything at all except of his boring face. Marcus from Volturi.
Yeah. He has a power. He's doing something in the Volturi. I don't remember what. But the whole thing is that this is from the frequently asked questions. Marcus was mates with Arrow's sister, like his biological sister, who was turned into a vampire with him. Both of those had powers, and Otto's sister had the power of making people love her or something. And Marcus loved her so much, like they loved each other so much, that they wanted to leave the Volturi. And Otto had more use of Marcus's power than his sister, so he kills his sister to keep Marcus. And that's why Marcus is just so bland.
Did Marcus know that?
I'm not sure I don't think he knows.
Because, yeah, that wouldn't make sense in the mate vengeance thing.
And I think the only thing keeping Marcus alive is that vampire who can keep them tied together. So she's making sure that Marcus doesn't just go off and kill himself. That's another thing. The whole, the Volturis are only able to be together like that because they have Chelsea's powers to keep them together, but the Cullens are good and they are self-sacrificing and they're vegetarians. They eat animals instead of humans, so they're able to have this true family connection. But I just feel like I don't really feel the Cullens as a family. I don't feel them as like that strong of a family.
They're more like detached pairs.
Yeah,
living together.
I really feel that if Carlisle died, they would quickly fall apart.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Carlisle keeps them all there, but if he wasn't there, Edward is the second one who keeps them together because him and Alice are really close, and Alice and Bella are really close, so they would stay together. Jasper would stay because of Alice. He also kind of likes Edward, and then Edward and Emmett clearly have some kind of brotherly relationship, and then Rosalie would stay for Emmett. So Edward would become the new center.
Yes.
If Carlisle died,
because he's already the center, sort of.
Yeah.
But Carlisle should have died. Esme could have died, or whatever. Sorry, Esme.
We don't care about Esme, whatever.
I actually think it would have been cool if they sent somebody to capture Charlie and then kill Charlie, because that would have been
a consequence.
Yeah, because Arrow would know from Edward that she loved Charlie, so that would have been cool. Seth should have died because she's so pure. I'm really mean. So that would have been a whole strain on the wolf relationship with the vampires, because they would feel that the purest soul, the most innocent one, died. Especially with Leah, she couldn't be near any of the vampires if Seth died. I think at least Jacob should have lost the limp.
I still feel like it would have been so interesting if Edward died. What would Bella do? Because it would be so cool if Bella dedicated her life to destroying the Volturi or something. But that's also something. Okay, let's say there was gonna be a fifth Twilight book, because the thing I didn't like about Breaking Dawn is that clearly you're all having problems with the Volturi. We all agree there's a reason the Volturi exist, because if the Volturi don't exist, some vampires go crazy like they did in the South and like they did with the Immortal Children. So the Volturi are necessary. It's necessary for the vampire world to have some kind of overseer. But the Volturi are clearly misusing their powers. So if I was in the Cullens' stead, I would be asking myself, wouldn't we be better? Aren't we the better choice? And clearly, since everybody else are picking their side and don't like the Volturi, this Breaking Dawn, they should have been like, at the end, be like, you know what? Maybe those two Romanian vampires are right. We should use this as an opportunity to fight the Volturi.
But she has to end the book like any good Disney movie, because there's nothing to write about when they don't
just
have
imagine
anything to do.
Edward and Bella becoming like the new leaders of the vampire world.
There's no strain at all to write about. They're happy now. They don't have any problems.
And that gets me to what the fuck are they gonna do with their immortality? This story does not really go into the consequence of being immortal. What are they gonna do? What are their aspirations? If I was immortal, like I have so many things I wanted to do being immortal, and they're just being happy. What? Go do stuff. I wish they had aspirations.
They watch a lot of DVDs.
Read books, I guess. They're gonna read a lot.
They watched a lot of DVDs. There was all over the island. There was thousands. There was more DVDs in that house than in a blockbuster.
I don't think they watch a lot of DVDs. I just think when there's a movie, they watch it, and so that maybe once a month they watch a movie event.
Well, it doesn't make any sense for them to buy it because they have perfect.
Well, if they want to watch it, they have to buy it.
No, because they could just rent it. Blockbuster was still a thing.
Oh yeah, right.
So they would see it one time or just go to the movies. I mean, it's dark. They can be in there, right? So they would go to the movies, see it, and then they could remember it for all time being. Okay.
I really hate their perfect memory. I don't like it.
I actually thought there was a fault in Eclipse when Rosalie is talking about... Rosalie, she's talking about how many people she killed. She killed only those men who raped her. And then she goes after her fiance for the last one. And then she's saying, I only killed, I think it's 7 people. So 7 people raped her. And then she was like, oh, oops, I forgot about the guards. And I'm like, no, you didn't forget. You have perfect memory. You didn't forget. The climax was no climax for me. It's just a segue into giving everybody what they want and only killing off Irina. It's the same way that neither of Harry, Hermione, or Ron died. None of them died. I know other beloved characters did.
But it was always, except for Fred, it was all the minor characters.
Also, Lupin and Tonks.
Yeah.
And then she did dirty on their baby.
Perfect.
Also, I had a problem with the Volturi actually being the center of power. Because, of course, that would, being in Italy, that would have been the center of power when they rose up. I think it's interesting that the Romanian vampires is there, Vladimir and Stefan. Because it shows there's been others, maybe more Mongolian or Chinese in some aspects, or Russian even, like that's the threshold of mixed races. But I actually thought there would be older and wiser vampires from the East, and the East is totally disregarded in Twilight. There's no East, apparently. We have mentioned that werewolves, original werewolves, men being half wolf, half man, has been in the East, and that's it. But I thought that because there was a lot of civilization in Japan and China long before the Europeans. But black vampires aren't mentioned either.
Laurent is black.
No, he's black in the movie.
Only in the movie, okay.
He's not black in the books.
There are a few people who were originally black, who are then mentioned to have more of an olive tone, pale kind of brown.
Are they actually black ones?
I'm pretty sure. And I think the Amazons are presented as very dark as well.
I thought they were more Native Americans. Chilean people, Peruvian,
yeah.
I thought they were more like that.
Yeah, I think they are, but I think they just become lighter skinned.
Like black.
Yeah, because they're all really
Is that
pink.
like a mixed race child with lighter black skin? Or
I'm
is it
not,
actually pale?
I don't know.
Maybe that's why she didn't want to put it
Yeah,
in.
she didn't want to. She didn't want to deal with that.
How is a black person pale?
How do they become white? Like, there are inherent issues here, right?
So we talked about the climax. You kind of like it. I really don't care for it.
I don't like how little a part Bella is in it.
But she's the whole reason why.
But she doesn't do anything but the shield thing. She's just there.
That's the most important part. She realizes her part is just standing there. Thank you for watching all these videos.
Josephine, what has it been like to reread Twilight?
Awful.
Awful.
I really liked Twilight. I actually found out that New Moon was okay.
I liked New Moon.
If you read my rendition of Twilight, you probably would think I hate it. I'm very critical, so I wrote snipe comments for everything. But Eclipse and Breaking Dawn books, I don't care for. First off, they should have been shorter, and then second, why write them?
I think the consequence, the reason they're so long is the consequence of something becoming so popular. It's kind of like if something's really popular, there's going to be fanfics of them. So people who really love it want bigger books because they just want to spend more time with them.
Maybe the editor's just okay with it being bigger. Like, her editor, I presume she has one. She does. She always writes so in the acknowledgement. But her editor might think, well, give people what they want. Instead of being critical.
I mean, they're selling at this point, so
exactly.
Why bother?
And maybe they needed to get them out fast. Unlike George R.R. Martin with Game of Thrones, the next book, he's not in a hurry, huh?
But it's 10 years now?
Like Patrick Rothfuss. Saying this.
Please.
Oh my god.
Finish Doors
Stop
of Stone.
playing D&D.
Yes.
Get on with the book already.
I want to read it so bad.
Why? And I feel like it's because you're not giving us that happy ending. And I'm okay with that.
I feel like it's because you're trying to fit it into a trilogy and you need to make it into a quartet.
Just write 6 books. Yeah. I read all of them. I promise.
I just want them. It's so painful. Oh, why did you have to remind me of that story?
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So I think it was nice being reminded for being a teenager. It was not. If you haven't forced me to talk about the book, I would just quit. I would have quit. I'm not going to present them to my kids unless they ask. It was part of that culture. And you think it's done. How was it for you? Because you hated it the last time you read it.
Yeah, I really liked rereading them. I liked reconnecting with that part of me who loved Twilight. I really for me, it was kind of therapeutic. It was like accepting that was a part of me and that a part of me enjoys them. Like, I laughed several times during Twilight. I really actually liked New Moon. I think it's well done in a lot of ways. Eclipse, I was really interested in the whole first part where I really fucking hated Edward. But then seeing how him starting to behave better, like, I just started to enjoy him better. And just the whole realizing that I really fucking like Bella. I do. In Twilight and Breaking Dawn, she's really fun. In New Moon and Eclipse, she's depressed. But that's okay. Like, give the girl a break. Like, he leaves her here. He leaves her brokenhearted. Here she's still dealing with the trauma and a love triangle.
But it's a big difference, right? She's so fun in Twilight, and in New Moon, she's just the opposite.
Yeah.
And it comes back in Breaking Dawn.
It comes back when she's a vampire. I actually feel it already comes back when they marry and they leave and she's not with, like, Jacob isn't a thing anymore. But, like, it was fun. It was fun to see all of the problematic parts as an adult and be like, yeah, I see them. I see you. But also being able to just abstract myself from it and not be like, Stephenie Meyer is not a bad person for having written this, and you're not a bad person if you... No, I don't think she is.
I've never thought about that. I actually never had the thought that she was a bad person.
People have really hated on Stephenie Meyer. You all need to go watch Lindsay Elias' video, I'm Sorry, Stephenie Meyer. It's a very good video, which talks about the hatred against Stephenie Meyer and the Twilight series. Good video.
I never thought about that. I never thought of her as a bad person.
I just think, like, a lot of the time, an author really gets a bad rep if they wrote a bad book. And a book gets a bad rep if the author does something bad, like we're seeing with Harry Potter right now.
I think actually Community is finding all the good stuff in Harry Potter, not connecting it.
Yeah, they're disconnecting Harry Potter from the author, which is...
Sort of, like, her views at least. Right?
Yeah.
But
I just feel like...
I think the only problem I have with Stephenie Meyer is pushing the virgin thing and the sex thing.
Yeah.
That's my real problem with her, not with the book. Like, not all the other things. And she's not a bad person. Exactly. Personal views on sex.
And it's a fantasy, as we've talked about before. I had fun. It was an easy read. It's a very easy language to read, and I really like adult fantasy, but I am Danish, so reading adult fantasy in English, because we don't have adult fantasy, not a lot of it in Danish. We're getting more, but like, reading adult fantasy for me in English is just harder, and that doesn't mean it's not enjoyable and stuff, but, like, this is easier for me, so I breeze through it because it's an easy language, and the fact that it's easy makes it kind of tricks you into thinking it's more enjoyable, right? So it was easy for me to get through. Do I think it's the best thing ever written? No.
But you don't have to think that to enjoy something, right?
No, right. Would I give it 5 stars? No. Maybe 3. 2 for some of them. But, like,
1.
But my 2 or 3 stars are actually what they say on Goodreads. Like, a 2 star for me is like, it was okay. It's not a bad book if I give it a 2 star. 1 star is a bad book. That's a wrap up of, honestly, Twilight. I thought it was... I'm really glad you wanted to do this with me. I'm looking forward to Midnight Sun. It was interesting to re-experience this.
Very interesting. Yeah, but I've had fun too, actually. It took out a lot of my time, though, and it's been aggravating me since Eclipse, so... It was such a hard book.
That was it for this time with Honestly Twilight. Thank you for watching. Look forward to when we read Midnight Sun. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell.
And spread the glitter.